Hello, I'm John Weiler with the Sovereign Passage Assembly, and this is our daily brief for December 17th, 2018. We're going to begin our study of this week's portion of the Torah, or Parsha. It's called Miketz, and it means at the end. And our reading is going to be Bere'shiyth, chapter 41, or Genesis chapter 41, verse 1 through chapter 44, verse 17. And we're going to continue with following Yoceph down in Mitsrayim, or Egypt, and how ELOHIYM is guiding and blessing him, taking care of him, and not forsaking him. Okay, so we're going to start here because we're going to read chapter 41, verses 1 through 57. So let's get started with that, and then we'll talk about it. And it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river, and behold, there came up out of the river 7 well-favored kine and fat-fleshed, and they fed in a meadow. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them out of the river, ill-favored and lean-fleshed, and stood by the other kine upon the brink of the river. And the ill-favored and lean-fleshed kine did eat up the 7 well-favored and fat kine. So Pharaoh awoke, and he slept, and he dreamed a second time. And behold, 7 ears of grain came up upon one stalk, rank and good. And behold, 7 thin ears, and blasted with the east wind, sprung up after them. And the 7 thin ears devoured the 7 rank and full ears. And Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream. And it came to pass in the morning that his ruach was troubled, and he sent and called for all the magicians of Mitsrayim, and all the wise men thereof. And Pharaoh told them his dream, but there was none that could interpret them unto Pharaoh. Then spoke the chief butler unto Pharaoh, saying, I do remember my faults this day. Pharaoh was wroth with his servants, and put me in ward with the captain of the guard's house, both me and the chief baker. And we dreamed a dream in one night, I and he. We dreamed each man according to the interpretation of his dream. And there was with us a young man, an Ivri, servant of the captain of the guard. And we told him, and he interpreted to us our dreams. To each man according to his dream he did interpret. And it came to pass, as he interpreted to us, so it was. Me he restored unto my office, and him he hanged. Then Pharaoh sent and called Yoceph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeons. And he shaved himself, and changed his raiment, and came in unto Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto Yoceph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of you that you can understand a dream to interpret it. And Yoceph answered Pharaoh, saying, It is not in me, ELOHIYM. It is not in me. ELOHIYM shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace. And Pharaoh said unto Yoceph, In my dream, behold, I stood upon the bank of the river. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 kine, fat-fleshed and well-favored, and they fed in a meadow. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them, poor and very ill-favored and lean-fleshed, such as I never saw in all the land of Mitsrayim for badness. And the lean and the ill-favored kine did eat up the first 7 fat kine. And when they had eaten them up, it could not be known that they had eaten them, for they were still ill-favored, as at the beginning. So I awoke, and I saw in my dream, and behold, 7 ears came up in one stalk, full and good. And behold, 7 ears withered, thin, and blasted with the east wind sprung up after them. And the thin ears devoured the 7 good ears. And I told this unto the magicians, and there was none that could declare it to me. And Yoceph said unto Pharaoh, The dream of Pharaoh is one. ELOHIYM has showed Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good kine are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dream is one. And the 7 thin and ill-favored kine that came up after them are 7 years. And the 7 empty years blasted with the east wind shall be 7 years of famine. This is the thing which I have spoken unto Pharaoh. What ELOHIYM is about to do, he shows unto Pharaoh. Behold, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout the land, all the land of Mitsrayim. And there shall arise after them 7 years of famine, and all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Mitsrayim, and the famine shall consume the land. And the plenty shall not be known in the land by reason of that famine following, for it shall be very grievous. And for that the dream was doubled unto Pharaoh twice, it is because the thing is established by ELOHIYM, and ELOHIYM will shortly bring it to pass. Now therefore let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Mitsrayim. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, and take up the 5th part of the land of Mitsrayim in the 7 plenteous years, and let them gather all the food of those good years that come, and lay up grain under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them guard food in the cities, and that food shall be for store to the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Mitsrayim, that the land perish not through the famine. And the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh, and in the eyes of all his servants. And Pharaoh said unto his servants, Can we find such a one as this is, a man whom the Ruach ELOHIYM is? And Pharaoh said unto Yoceph, Forasmuch as ELOHIYM has showed you all this, there is none so discreet and wise as you are. You shall be over my house, and according to your word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than you. And Pharaoh said unto Yoceph, See, I have set you over all the land of Mitsrayim. And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand, and put it upon Yoseph's hand, and arrayed him in vestures of fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck. And he made him to ride in the 2nd chariot which he had, and they cried before him, Bow the knee. And he made him ruler over all the land of Mitsrayim. And Pharaoh said unto Yoceph, I am Pharaoh, and without you shall no man lift up his hand or his foot in all the land of Mitsrayim. And Pharaoh called Yoseph's name Saphnath Panach, and he gave him to be his woman Asnath, the daughter of Potiphera, priest of On. And Yoceph went out all over the land of Mitsrayim. And Yoceph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Mitsrayim. And Yoceph went out from the presence of Pharaoh, and went throughout all the land of Mitsrayim. And in the 7 plenteous years the earth brought forth by handfuls. And he gathered up all the food of the 7 years, which were in the land of Mitsrayim, and laid up food in the cities. The food of the field, which was round about every city, he laid up in the same. And Yoceph gathered grain as the sand of the sea, very much, until he left numbering, for it was without number. And unto Yoceph were born 2 sons, before the years of famine came, which Asnath, the daughter of Potiphera, priest of On, bore unto him. And Yoceph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, for ELOHIYM, said he, has made me forget all my toil and all my father's house. And the name of the second called he Ephraim, for ELOHIYM caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. And the 7 years of plenteousness that was in the land of Mitsrayim were ended, and the 7 years of famine began to come, according as Yoceph had said, and the famine was in all the lands. But in the land of Mitsrayim there was bread. And when all the land of Mitsrayim was famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for bread, and Pharaoh said unto all of Mitsrayim, Go unto Yoceph, what he says to you, do. And the famine was over all the face of the earth. And Yoceph opened all the storehouses, and sold unto Mitsrayim, and the famine waxed sore in the land of Mitsrayim. All the countries came into Mitsrayim to Yoceph for to buy grain, because the famine was so sore in all the lands. Okay, so that's quite an account. Yoceph goes from being imprisoned for potentially assaulting his master's wife to being the most powerful in all the nation of Mitsrayim. Okay, no, beside the throne, only in the throne will I be greater than you, is what Pharaoh tells him. And it was because of ELOHIYM. Okay, ELOHIYM was always with him, has always been with him. And, excuse me, and we begin here, and it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Yoceph was in prison still after he asked the chief butler to remember him when he got out. So he interprets the baker and the chief butler's dreams, and they come to pass. They come true. And he says, remember me, please remember me. So I was wrongfully taken away from my land and then wrongfully imprisoned here. Please remember me when you get out. Excuse me. And the chief butler doesn't remember him. So 2 years go by. Now Pharaoh has a dream, and he dreams that there's 7 fat cattle, okay, come up out of the river. They feed in the meadow. Then 7 really skinny cattle come out and they eat the fat ones, but then they don't look any different. They still look really, really sick. Wakes up and he dreams a second dream, and there's 7 healthy ears of grain come up on a stalk, and then 7 thin ones that are beat about by an east wind, and then the 7 thin ears devour the healthy ones, the full ones. And then he wakes up and he asks all of his wise men and magicians, okay, to interpret the dream, but nobody can do it. So again, going back to where we ended with our Parasha last week, does not interpretation belong to ELOHIYM? Is what Yoceph says, and he says, tell me your dream. So, Spirit of ELOHIYM is on Yoceph, and the chief butler says, ooh, I forgot. I remember my faults this day, is what he says, okay? Verse 9 says, I do remember my faults this day. He says, he tells him, remember a couple years ago when you were really mad at us and you threw me and the chief baker into prison? Well, there's an Hebrew man there, who interpreted our dreams, and when we got out, it actually came true. You restored me, but you hung him. So he could probably do that. So Pharaoh calls for Yoceph to come out, and he cleans himself up and brought out very quickly because this is a big deal, shaves himself, changes his clothes, and goes in front of Pharaoh. And Pharaoh tells him his dream. He says, I've dreamed a dream, and there's none that can interpret it. And I've heard say that you can understand a dream to interpret it. And Yoceph answered, it is not in me, ELOHIYM shall give Pharaoh the answer of peace. Okay, and we'll give you what you're looking for. ELOHIYM. It's not me. It's ELOHIYM that does that. Okay? Now we need to pay attention here to what Yoceph is doing and how he is responding here. Those of us who are awake or awakening and are coming out and being productive and fruitful for the kingdom of Yah, okay? It is not in me, but ELOHIYM shall give Pharaoh the answer of peace. Does not the interpretation belong to ELOHIYM? Do not the gifts of the Ruach HaKodesh belong to ELOHIYM? All right? That's something that we need to really remind ourselves of, that what we speak right here is not of us. All right? The words that I'm talking right now are the words of ELOHIYM. Okay? This is Yah's word that we're reading right now. And we're going to continue on. We're going to talk about how he stays with us. Okay? How he stayed with Yoceph. Never left him. Never left him. And Yoceph always stayed with him too, and gave glory to him in all things, because he was humble and submissive, had the fear of Yah. Okay? We're called for the same things. We can't be calling ourselves teachers and have us say, this is what this means, this is what that means, because we're speaking through the Ruach ELOHIYM. We can help to guide those through the word with the understanding that we have. In fact, what we're doing right now is, if you're watching this, you're just coming to the knowledge of the truth. And the goal with our assembly here is to help to get spun up quicker, a little more efficiently onto the way, or into and onto the way of YAHUAH. But then it's up to you and what the Ruach HaKodesh has in store for you. Okay? Really, our interaction here is only going to go up to a certain point. And then you, as you continue to seek righteousness and stay in His Word, immersed in His Word, and then the Ruach HaKodesh is immersed, the immersion of fire, where you are one or Yachad with Elohim, as Yoceph, as we're seeing Yoceph right here, he will guide you. He is your teacher. YAHUAH, our guide, our counselor, our comforter, Ruach Elohim, Ruach HaKodesh. So, we have to remember that, okay? We do not set ourselves above, is really what I'm getting at. Okay, we're not called to be teachers here. We're just called to speak His Word. His Word is His name. We speak the name of Yah. And then for those that are called out, that are ordained from the beginning, through Yahushua HaMashiach, can hear that. And then if they listen to your words, our words, should be the words of Yah, and they should be responding to the words of Yah, and then seeking Yah through His words, and then they begin to do the same thing. Okay? We don't amass people, is what I'm getting at. Okay, so anyways, going back here, it is not in me, Elohim shall give Pharaoh the answer. So Pharaoh tells him the dream. And Yoseph's like, okay. So I can picture this, what's happening. He's listening, okay. And then he says, okay, here's the interpretation. Elohim has showed Pharaoh what he's about to do. This is how he says, not like, this is what I think. He says, Elohim has showed you what he's about to do. He tells him that there are 7 good years, so that the dream is 1. You had 2 of them, but they have the same meaning. Okay, you got healthy and healthy, which are 7 good years, 7 good years, and then sick, bad are 7 years of bad, or famine. Okay, famine. And that it'll be so bad that people will not remember the plenteous years. So the 7 good years, that'll be great in the land. People will forget all about it because the famine is so terrible. And so he tells him that, and then he also gives him advice. Okay, he says, for this dream was doubled unto Pharaoh twice, is because this thing is established by Elohim. Like, this is going to happen. And Elohim will shortly bring it to pass. Now, therefore, let Pharaoh look out for a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Mitsrayim. So he says, okay, you got this dream 2 times, so it will happen. This is what you should do. Put somebody in charge here who has a spirit of Elohim, and let him gather the food and take a 5th part of the land of Mitsrayim in the 7 plenteous years. And let him gather and store, lay up the grain, and then let them guard the food. And that should be for the land. It will be set up for the land in the years of famine, so that Mitsrayim will not perish. And we know ahead of time. Okay, you've been warned ahead of time. Let's prepare for it. And Pharaoh liked the idea. He said, yeah, this is a good idea. Can we find such a one as that is a man whom the Ruach Elohim is? And Pharaoh says unto Yoceph, for as much as Elohim has showed you all this, there is none so discreet and wise as you are. You shall be over my house, and according to your word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than you. And so he lifts him up, okay? Because of Elohim. All right? So, if we look back to the beginning here, just like that, he comes out of the prison, and now he's elevated to the most powerful, right? Only in the throne will Pharaoh be greater than him. Okay, just like that. There's no real warning, all right? And life changed tremendously for Yoceph. But Yoceph never faltered in his relationship with Elohim. Okay, that's something that we have to really consider. 2 years go by. And he left these guys, and like, oh, here it is. Like, I asked them to remember me, but they didn't remember me. Now I'm stuck in this prison. This is terrible. Life is so bad. We don't read anything about that. We just read 2 years come by, and Yoceph is still behaving the same way. He's not calling himself. He's like, okay, I'm going to show Pharaoh how smart I am so I can get out of prison. He doesn't do that. Excuse me. He says, it is not in me. Elohim shall give the Pharaoh an answer. Okay, it's not me. I'm not the smart one here. It's Elohim. I'm just an instrument. Okay, I'm a tool for that. Okay, so today, just to kind of finish, he was 30 years old, too, when this occurred. And then he goes around and he takes stock counts everything as far as where the food is, where it's going to be laid up, and then he stopped numbering because it was without number. He has 2 sons. One is Manasseh, and the other is Ephraim. He takes a wife, and her name is Asenath. And Asenath is an Egyptian name, or a Mitsrayim name. And I found a meaning, and I couldn't verify it. Okay, I couldn't verify it. Whether or not Asenath was the correct definition for the name or meaning for the name. Pharaoh calls Yoceph Sapanath Panak, or Panak, and that means the God speaks and he lives, and that's Strong's H6847. So his name is changed from Yoceph, which I have to look that one up. But his name's changed to Sapanath Panak, which means the God speaks and he lives. He takes a daughter from Boy, I'm sorry, I just lost my notes in my place. Potiphera, priest of On, and her name is Asenath. She has, or through her, he has 2 children, Manasseh, and Manasseh means causing to forget, and that's Strong's H4519, and Ephraim, which means a double fruit, which is Strong's H669, and then we see Manasseh and Ephraim being very important as time goes on through the inheritance of Joseph, okay, or Yoceph, so his inheritance in the land that was promised to Abraham, okay, the land of Yasharel. All right, so we have them born into the house of Yoceph under Pharaoh in Mitsrayim. And then the 7 plenteous years are done, and the famine begins. And it's really, really bad, but there's still bread in Mitsrayim. And then when they're laid up, the land of Mitsrayim was famished, and people cry out to Pharaoh, and Pharaoh says, "Go unto Yoceph, and what he says to you, do." And then the famine is over all the face of the earth, is what it says. Okay, verse 56. And Yoceph opened all the storehouses and sold unto Mitsrayim, and the famine waxed sore in the land of Mitsrayim. And all the countries come into Mitsrayim to Yoceph to buy grain, because the famine was so bad. Okay, so today what we're going to talk about is how Elohim stayed with Yoceph, and how Yoceph stayed with Elohim. Okay, because today we are the called out. We know that now, and we can hear the voice of our shepherd. We can see the truth. Our eyes have been opened, and we're no longer blind. We can see what it is we're called to do, what's required of us, and more importantly, we have the desire to. We have the desire to walk in the ways of YAHUAH, to seek righteousness, to walk as our Mashiach walked, Yahusha. Okay, Yahusha, our Messiah. All right, so let's start here in Isaiah 55. I'm going to read 1 through 13. "O everyone that thirsts, come ye to the waters, and he that has no money, come ye, buy and eat. Yea, come, buy wine and milk without money and without price. Wherefore do ye spend money that which is not bread, and your labor for that which satisfies not? Hearken diligently unto me, and eat ye that which is good, and let your soul delight itself in fatness. Incline your ear, and come unto me. Hear, and your soul shall live. And I will cut an everlasting covenant with you, even the sure mercies of David. Behold, I have given him for a witness to the people, a leader and commander to the people. Behold, you shall call a nation that ye know not, and nations that knew not you shall run unto you because of YAHUAH Eloheka, and for the Holy One of Yasharel, for he has glorified you. Seek ye YAHUAH while he may be found. Call ye upon him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts, and let him return unto YAHUAH, and he will have mercy upon him, and to our ELOHIYM, for he will abundantly pardon. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, says YAHUAH. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. For as the rain comes down and the snow from heaven, and returns not thither, but waters the earth, and makes it bring forth and bud, that it may give seed to the sower and bread to the eater, so shall my word be that goes forth out of my mouth. It shall not return to me void, but it shall be accomplished that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. For ye shall go out with joy, and be led forth with peace. The mountains and the hills shall bring forth before you into singing, and all the trees of the field shall clap their hands. Instead of the thorn shall come up the fir tree, and instead of the briar shall come up the myrtle tree. And it shall be to YAHUAH for a name, for an everlasting sign, that shall not be cut off. Okay, so today we are part of a group of people that have been talked about and told about through the prophets, through the Torah, that would come. Okay, we are part of that group now that can seek YAHUAH while he may be found and call upon him while he is near. We were the wicked. Okay, we were the one walking contrary to the way of YAHUAH, and we have forsaken our ways. So we have stopped doing that. We see that is, we see the truth of it. Okay, we see the truth. The truth is there's only one way to Yah, and that's through Yahushua HaMashiach, to come back into that relationship. It's repentance. That's repentance. So to forsake our ways, to turn away from the way that we used to live, which were for the lusts of the flesh. Okay, the things around us, our life, okay, for what we wanted to eat, where we're going to sleep, what we're going to wear, procreation, things along those lines, things that end with this life, okay, the lusts of the flesh. So we forsake that way, and the unrighteous are thoughts. Okay, righteousness is the way of Yah through faith in Yahushua HaMashiach. Okay, that's righteousness. So we forsake our thoughts and we return to YAHUAH. Okay, we return. We become holy, or we strive for righteousness to be holy as he is holy. And we have our example with Yahushua HaMashiach, the fullness, the completeness of the way of Yah. And he says, for YAHUAH, YAHUAH, for he will have mercy upon him, and to our ELOHIYM, for he will abundantly pardon. Okay? That is repentance for forgiveness through our door, Yahushua HaMashiach. It says, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, says YAHUAH. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. He gives us everything that we need. Okay, everything that we need to be successful is in his word. This is our instruction manual for life. We just have to hearken to it. Okay, we have to go to it and seek it. That's seeking righteousness, is to seek. What do we have to do? What do you want? What do you want from us, who can now hear you and see you through your word, and want to be with you? What is it that we need to do? Okay, because we're actively seeking what it is to be called of YAHUAH through Yahushua. And he tells us, okay, but we just have to seek YAHUAH while he may be found and call upon him as he is near, and we will be fed. Okay, come and eat. That's what he says. All right, incline your ear and come unto me, hear, and your soul shall live. Okay, let's bump up then to Romans. And we're going to to start in chapter 8. Now we know that what it is that we're required, what is required of us, and our agenda. All right, our requirements and the agenda for repentance. Okay, to repent is to turn back to the way of Yah. All right, that is being holy, to seek righteousness, to seek Him, and be holy as He is holy. Be set apart as He is set apart, so we can have and partake or be yakad with the Ruach HaKodesh. So we know that there is no ending in the way of Yah, okay? Because that would mean that Yah is ended. All right, so if the Torah is now ended, there is no Yah, because that's what will bring us into that relationship. That's who He is. Okay, that's how we become holy. So let's go to Romans chapter 8. Now, when we read these letters, we know this already because we can see the truth of it in the Word. All right. So what I'm getting at here is I'm not going to explain what Paul the worker is writing about here as we're jumping into a chapter. All right. This is a letter to the called out assembly in Rome, and it's it's an uplifting letter to help, and it's also there to guide. Okay, an apostle is somebody that's gone out with a message. And in this case, it's the message of Mashiach, okay, to repent and how to come back into relationship correctly through the fullness of the way of Yah. So I'm not gonna explain in detail what he's talking about, because we the called out are not looking at anything in His Word as a reason not to follow it, okay, not to repent. Okay, which would be to continue on in sin or wickedness that we're coming out of. Okay, so chapter 8 says, "There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Mashiach Yahushua, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Ruach. For the Torah of the Ruach Kayim, which is the Spirit of life, in Mashiach Yahushua, has set me free from the Torah of sin and death. For what was impossible under the Torah for the flesh to do, Yahweh did in sending His own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin, condemned sin in the flesh, that the righteousness of the Torah might be fulfilled in us, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Ruach. For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Ruach, the things of the Ruach. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Because the carnal mind is enmity against Yah, for it is not subject to the Torah of YAHUAH, neither indeed can it be. So then they that are in the flesh cannot please Yah." Okay, so to say that you're no longer under the Torah, okay, that would be an accurate description for those who are carnally minded, are walking after the lusts of the flesh, seeking the things of the world, okay? Because Paul the worker writes, because the carnal mind is enmity against Yah, okay? At odds, hostile, enemy, okay, enmity. For it is not subject to the Torah of YAHUAH, neither can be. So then they that are in the flesh cannot please Yah. But ye are not in the flesh, but in the Ruach, if so be that the Ruach YAHUAH dwells in you. Now if any man have not the Ruach Mashiach, he is not his. If Mashiach be in you, the body is dead because of sin, but the Ruach is life because of righteousness. But if the Ruach of Him that raised up Yahushua from the dead dwell in you, He that raised up Mashiach from the dead shall also quicken your mortal bodies by His Ruach that dwells in you. Therefore, brethren, we are debtors, not to the flesh, to live after the flesh. For if ye live after the flesh, ye shall die. But if you live through the Ruach, do mortify the deeds of the body, ye shall live. For as many as are led by the Ruach YAHUAH, they are the sons of YAHUAH. For ye have not received the Ruach of bondage again to fear, but ye have received the Ruach Amos, which is the spirit of adoption, whereby we cry, Abba, Father. The Ruach itself bears witness with our Ruach that we are children of Yah, and if children, then heirs, heirs of YAHUAH and joint heirs with Mashiach, if so be that we suffer with him, that we may also be glorified together. For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. For the earnest expectation of the creature waits for the manifestation of the sons of YAHUAH. For the creature was made subject to vanity, not willingly, but by reason of him who subjected the same in hope. Because the creature itself also shall be delivered from the bondage of corruption, unto the glorious liberty of the children of YAHUAH. For we know that the whole creature groans and travails in pain together until now. And not only they, but ourselves also, which have the firstfruits of the Ruach. Even we ourselves groan within ourselves, waiting for the adoption, to wit, the redemption of our body. For we are saved by hope, but hope that is seen is not hope. For what a man sees, why does he yet hope for? But if we hope for that we see not, then do we with patience wait for it. Likewise the Ruach also helps our infirmities. For we know not what we should pray for as we ought, but the Ruach itself makes intercession for us with groanings which cannot be uttered. And he that searches the hearts knows what is the mind of the Ruach, because he makes intercession for the Kodashim according to the will of Yah. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love YAHUAH, to them who are called according to his purpose. For whom he did foreknow, he also did predetermine to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. Moreover, whom he did predetermine, them he also called. And whom he called, them he also justified. And whom he justified, them he also glorified. What shall we then say against these things? If Yah be for us, who can be against us? He that spared not his own Son, but delivered him up for us all, how shall he not with him also freely give us all things? Who shall lay anything to the charge of Yahusha's elect? It is Yah that justifies. Who is he that condemns? It is Yahusha HaMashiach that died, yea, rather, that is risen again, who is even at the right hand of Yah, who also makes intercession for us. Who shall separate us from the love of Mashiach? Shall tribulation, or distress, or persecution, or famine, or nakedness, or peril, or sword? As it is written, for your sake we are killed all the day long. We are accounted as sheep for the slaughter. That's in Psalms 44:22. Nay, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. For I am persuaded that neither death nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of Yah, which is in Mashiach Yahusha our Adonai. Boy, that's awesome. And it is true. I am persuaded for the same thing. Okay, the only thing that can separate us from the love of Yah is us. It's ourselves walking away. Walking away. All right. So, we know that all things work together for good to them that love YAHUAH, to them who are called according to his purpose. For whom he did foreknow, he also did predetermine to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. We're called to walk as the Mashiach walked, who is the fullness of the way of Yah. We're called to be holy as he is holy. He said, to be carnally minded is death. To be focused on the things of the world is death. To not be single in the way of ELOHIYM is death. Okay? For the carnally minded is death, but the spiritually minded is life and peace, because the carnal mind is enmity against Yah. For it is not subject to the Torah of YAHUAH, neither indeed can it be. So then they that are in the flesh cannot please Yah. So we have to remember this, Okay, first of all, don't forget this, because we lived our whole lives up to a certain point to where we could hear the calling of our Creator, our Master, from the foundation of the world through Yahushua HaMashiach. We were carnally minded up until that point. For whatever occurred for us to wake up and then go to Him, seek Him through His Word, we were carnally minded. And it was death. We were dead. We were dead. But out of the grace and mercy of YAHUAH through Yahushua HaMashiach, we're now alive through Him. Okay? But it tells us, and we know this too, we know it to be true, in our Ruach, in our spirit, that the carnal mind is enmity against Yah. For it is not subject to the Torah, the instruction, the way of YAHUAH, and neither indeed can be. So then they that are in the flesh cannot please Yah. You may have grown up in a church, like I did, where we're no longer under the burden of the law. Okay, no longer under the law. We're not subject to the Torah of YAHUAH. And neither indeed could we be, because we are focused on the things of the flesh, the things of the world. Now this is even more important to us now because we know that. We know what's expected of us. We know what we are called to do, what our agenda with our lives are now. And that is to be workers in the kingdom of Yah. So if we turn our eye back to the darkness and then our light becomes darkness, how deep is that darkness is what our example, the fullness of the way of Yah, Yahushua HaMashiach, tells us. We can't look back to the lusts of the flesh. We have to stay single on the way of Yah. And it is not easy. It is not easy. Therefore, brethren, we are debtors, not to the flesh, to live after the flesh. For if ye live after the flesh, ye shall die. But if you live through the Ruach, do mortify the deeds of the body, you shall live. And then we'll be called sons. Okay? Yachad, which is plural of Yachid, which means beloved son. We will be Yachad, beloved sons. Okay, so we seek Him though. And when we seek Him, He's with us. He provides the things that we need to be successful. It's just up to us to keep our eye away from the things of the flesh, the things that draw us away and hurt our relationship. Yoceph, even in the face of adversity for terrible things, we put ourselves in his position, sold into slavery to do things he didn't want to do. Didn't want to do any of that stuff by people that were his family and he trusted. He was going down to check on his brothers, or going up to Shechem to check on his brothers. And they wanted to kill him instead, but they decided not to do that, and they sold him into slavery. He had no idea that was going to happen. I'm sure that was probably the last thing on his mind, otherwise he wouldn't have gone. And then he was wrongfully accused of assaulting his master's wife, thrown into prison for that. Thought he had an out with interpreting these higher-ups that were real close to Pharaoh. They forget about him for 2 years. And Yoceph stays single on the way of Yah. Comes out still humble. Pharaoh says, well, I got some things here that these guys say that you can do. And they said, it's not me. It's ELOHIYM. So, we have that same opportunities as Yoceph, as long as we stay single on the way. As that example for us in his instructions did Yoceph. All right, so let's end out here in Matthew with our example, Yahushua, the Messiah, Yahushua HaMashiach. In chapter 28, we'll start at verse 19. He tells us to go therefore and teach all nations, immersing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Ruach HaKodesh, teaching them to guard all things whatsoever I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. Amen. Truly. Okay, so there we have it. All right. He is always with us, no matter what is happening, no matter what thing that we can look around and say, this is terrible. Why is this happening? Why is this so hard? We are the cause for the things that take us away from Him. Okay? There are all kinds of things in the world that will happen. And we will be put to the test. We see it all throughout these people. Yoceph's being put to the test right now. Thrown into prison. He'll be put to the test again with power. Okay? Because that's just as dangerous. In fact, it's more dangerous. Wealth and power. Put to the test. Whether or not we're going to stay single on the way of Yah. Who we are. Is that who we are? We're the ones that make things hard. Okay, we're the ones that cause the strife in our lives because we are double, knowing the way. We're double-minded. We're still looking at the things around us like these are things that we need, or things that we need to be part of, when it's not. Elohim's the one that provides all these things. He's the one that knows what we need, and He knows what to give us based on our direction, our spiritual alignment. Whether we're going to stay single on His way. So we have everything that we need. And He is always with us, even to the end of this world. And praise Yah for that. And praise Yah for the opportunity to know that and to truly believe that. Because that's where our strength, that's where our hope is put on. Okay. So I hope that these words of Elohim has blessed you the way that it has blessed me. And I know that I'll be focusing on my life today and to reevaluate where my eye is, what I am seeing. Am I on the lust of the flesh around me? Because the answer is yes, at some point, some shape or form I am. And what do I need to eliminate or do differently so I no longer do that, or I hope to prevent it from happening again. Okay, and we prayerfully seek that through His Word. That's where we turn. Okay, have a wonderful day today, and we'll be back here tomorrow, continuing on with Parasha Miketz and Yoceph in Mitsrayim. Thank you.